Hey everybody, it's your boy Duel, back with another video. Today we're going to be talking about episode 12 of the Spectacular Spider-Man. This episode was titled Intervention, and it was written by Greg Weisman and directed by Dave Bullock. Spider-Man is swinging to Manhattan General Hospital, where he lands and walks past a guard, and he seems to be wearing a black shirt, and he's not in a good mood. By this point, it's shown that Spider-Man has been completely taken over by the symbiote, altering even the clothes that he's wearing. He walks in and he's asking for the room number to see Aunt May until Eddie interrupts him, gives him the room number, but he makes Peter feel guilty about not being there. Instead of Peter being angry at Eddie, it looks like he feels sad and he starts regretting not being there and almost thinking that Eddie's right. This episode starts off strong, already hitting us where it hurts. The doc says that Aunt May is actually in recovery and they shouldn't treat her falling down lightly. Peter agrees, and as he's leaving, he gets stopped in the hall by a nurse, asked to fill out some forms for May, and on the second page, he's shown the bill, and he's very shocked by this, and the bill must be pretty bad. We don't actually see the numbers, but it's safe to assume it's a high number. It's a hospital bill, after all. Peter goes to the high school where he's stopped by Gwen, and he is very upset. He's angry, doesn't look like he's in the mood to talk to anybody. And wouldn't just so happen that Gwen, MJ, and Liz show up and they try to offer their help. And he says something along the lines of, "Help? What can you do to help? Maybe you can do my homework, or you can borrow my camera and take pics of Spider-Man, because I definitely need the money." And as he's telling them this, Flash Thompson is staring at Parker, and he's not smiling, he's not cracking a joke, he's not making fun of him. No puny Parker, he doesn't even bat an eye, he's just in the back watching him. So Flash does not take the situation lightly, and this is very nice to see because up until now we've only seen Flash just bully Parker and just be a super fan of Spider-Man. So it's nice to see that when things get grim, Flash knows when to dial it back. And some people that are usually bullies do not do this, so it's a nice touch to Flash's character. So Peter pretty much tells everybody that's offering help to buzz off, and he leaves, and he's like, okay, well, if I'm trying to get some money, my friends aren't going to help me, I have no family to help me, so guess what, I guess I'm going to go talk to Tombstone, where I can definitely get some more money for Aunt May. Spidey asks Tombstone if the job that they talked about previously is still on the table, and then the intro starts. After the intro, Tombstone tells Spider-Man that he can't fight crime for a week and that he only take down supervillains. This is the way that Spider-Man will have to prove that he's not joking around and that he's not just having a change of heart just out of nowhere. We go back to the lab where Dr. Connors is telling Eddie that they can't afford to pay him anymore because they lost the alien life form. Eddie says that he needs that money to stay in school, but Dr. Connors tells him that the money just isn't there. Back at the school, MJ goes to talk to Gwen, and they start talking about Peter, and MJ says, "You really like Peter, don't you?" And Gwen's like, "Yeah, I like him, he likes me." It's a whole like fest, and it gets very awkward very fast. And MJ's like, "Yeah, that's not really what I meant. I meant like. And she's like, "Oh, you mean like?" And she's like, "Yeah, I guess I do." And MJ's like, "Well, that's cool and all, and if you're fine with the status quo, that's great, but if you want to be more than friends, then you're going to have to step up." As wise as Peter is, he's not likely to wise up himself, and he's still just a guy. Spidey's swinging back to the hospital to see May, where Eddie tries to fight Peter because, quote-unquote, he cost him his job. Peter shoves Eddie against the wall and says, "We're tired of your whining." And they get broken up by the security guard, and Eddie walks away. This is the first time I think we can make note of the fact that Peter refers to himself as we and not I, so now you know the symbiote has fully altered his mind at this point, so that's just something to make note of. Gwen calls Peter, but he rejects the call. Gwen calling him, and he's just like, "Why would I want to talk to Gwen? She's just going to offer help. She's not really a real friend." And as he rejects the call, Flash happens to catch this happening, and he tries to talk to Peter. He's like, "Man, even Sally feels sorry for you. Poor puny Parker. I don't feel bad for you. But if you're hanging up on Gwen," and I think he calls her the she-geek. It's kind of weird. I had to rewind that. It's like, what did he call Gwen? It's like, if you're still hanging up on the she-geek, then you must be the egghead still who can't see that your friends are just trying to help. Peter then thinks about this, and he goes back at Spider-Man swinging around, and he's like, Man, if Flash is starting to make sense, something must be wrong with me. And he starts to question the choices he's been making recently, or why he keeps referring to himself as we. And the fact that he tried to take a deal with Tombstone where he doesn't fight crime. And he's like, this isn't me. He's like, it's the suit. It's gotta be. They took down the Sinister Six when he was sleeping. He didn't do that. The suit's got a mind of its own. It's trying to consume him. He's like, well, I guess at this point, I kind of get it off. And he swings to the nearest bell tower, coincidentally, where he tries to take off the suit, but the suit tries to convince him that they don't need MJ, they don't need Gwen. But then he stops and he thinks, because the symbiote says, yeah, we don't need Aunt May. And he's like, wait, Aunt May? All right, now I know you're just talking a bunch of hooey. There's no way that this is not right. I got to get you out of here. You're not right for me. You and I, we just are not meant for each other. And so he tries to take off the suit. And as he's doing this, he bumps into the bell, and the vibration set off the symbiote, and it obviously affects the symbiote, and it hurts it. As Peter is trying to get the symbiote suit off, he's getting angry and upset, and that only makes the symbiote stronger. Like, the more he tries to get out of it, the stronger it tries to overtake his body, and it eventually does. It's like this giant cocoon, almost, of symbiote, and then they, like, get into the mind of Peter Parker, and he starts to have like a flashback of Uncle Ben. And at first glance, Peter's like, oh my god, Uncle Ben, you're back. This is amazing. Aunt May, you both here. Aunt May, look, he's alive. And she's like, yeah, he's been alive. And he's like, can we just like enjoy the moment? Can we just capture this moment of you two being here together with me? And eventually he's kicked out the door inside of his dream, where he's reliving the events of what led to him becoming the Spider-Man. He goes to the wrestling match for $1,000, and the announcer says that, yeah, I'll pay you $1,000 if you win, with some caveats, of course. And naturally, Spider-Man wins, and he says, yeah, you'll get your money, but you have to sign a contract with me first. And Pete's like, well, I didn't sign up for that. I didn't sign up for a cage match. Shortly after, the announcer gets robbed, and as Pete's leaving, the announcer is like, man, and he lets the robber go, and the announcer's like, you could have stopped him, you could have taken that guy apart. And Pete looks at him and he's like, I missed the part where that's my problem. No, he doesn't say that. He actually just says, not my problem, which I think Andrew Garfield says not my policy, so it's the same thing here, right? Where he doesn't stop the robber, and this obviously leads to the fact of Uncle Ben dying, unfortunately. But we skip past that. Peter is soon faced with the symbiote, where it's trying to coerce him. He's like really depressed at this point. It's like, we don't need your friend. You have no friends. You have no money. You've got no family. Poor Parker. You're nothing without us. And he's about to like give in to the symbiote until Uncle Ben interrupts and gives Peter the speech that makes him become the man we all know and love. The symbiote says, what good did that do? That they've done all of these things. With great power comes great responsibility. They still went to that venue after all. The burglar still took Ben away from us. And Ben's like, well, that's not the point. And then we get a montage of how many people Peter has saved since he's become Spider-Man. The symbiote says, well, what did they get repaid for all that? They've got no money, no girl, no real friends. They got nothing to show for it. What's the point? Then we get another montage of all Peter's new friends and his adventures and everything that he's been through as Spider-Man and Peter Parker. Peter and the symbiote begin to fight for the mind, body, and soul of himself. Peter starts to lose the fight, but Ben reminds him that he's got his friends and his family in his corner. Because of this, our boy Spidey starts to win. Spider-Man eventually overpowers the symbiote since it feeds off negative energy. Eventually gets the symbiote off of him, and he dumps it into a bucket. Spidey takes the alien back to the university where Eddie is there, and he's about to clear out his stuff, and he gets there and he's like, man, I'm not going to give them the satisfaction of letting them see me clear out my desk and all that. And he sees Spider-Man's dropping off the alien goo into the containment. Eddie sees this and he's like, wait, what are you doing? If you destroy the alien goo, then I'm still going to lose my job. And he's like, I'm sorry, if you knew how dangerous this stuff was, you'd know that I have to do this. This is what I have to do. So he puts the alien goo in the containment the containment field, and he lowers the temperature really low so it freezes, and it looks like it's gonna work. And Spider-Man flees without without noticing this, but Eddie gets more angry. He's like, wait a minute, Pete's not a hero. He's just like Spider-Man. They're the same. They're both selfish. They suck. Everything is their fault and not mine, pretty much. The symbiote eventually thaws out and it claws itself towards Eddie, and Eddie notices this and he puts his hands toward it on the glass. Then it like forms a hand in the shape of Eddie's hand, and Eddie's like, you're alive. And he eventually opens the container and the goo wraps around him. Eventually it enters his mind and it's like, you want to bond with us? Do you hate the spider? Do you want to take down the spider? And in this moment, Eddie's given all of Pete and Spidey's memories, and they figure out that Peter is Spider-Man. Together, they become Venom. And they will have vengeance on Spider-Man. And that's the end of the episode. So yeah, overall, I want to say this is probably the darkest episode that we've gotten yet. And I actually really appreciate it because this is a kid's cartoon. So it's for kids, obviously, right? So it's nice to see that this is definitely a darker side. This isn't just, very, hey, it's just kids be Spider-Man save the day episode. This is like some serious tones in here, dealing with, the things that are going on in your lives, balance between good and evil, all that sort of stuff. It's done really well here. The thing that doesn't work for me is the build up for Eddie Brock. I don't think that works here. For me, it just didn't feel natural. Like, when the show first started, Eddie was a pretty nice guy, seemed like a pretty solid dude. And ever since Peter was taking pictures for the Bugle, he, like, completely 180s. And so you're supposed to believe that these guys have been friends for, I'm guessing Peter's, like, 16 or 17 in this show. So, assuming that they've been friends since, I don't know, they were little kids, let's say maybe 8 or 9, that's at least 10 years of friendship. And so the fact that Eddie is able to just throw that all away and not give any benefit of the doubt for Peter at all, or have any sort of doubts before just flipping completely towards I hate Peter and I hate Spider-Man and just all these negative things, like, it doesn't seem like, it kind of seems out of character for Eddie to be this negative so quickly, right? You would think there should have been a moment of doubt for Eddie, but there isn't. There's like, maybe I guess you could argue there's one episode where he thinks he's cool with Peter, but then he gets angry at Peter about something else. I think it was Gwen at the homecoming. But other than that, the narrative is very forced towards, okay, well, we have to get this story going so that Venom can exist. So let's just make Eddie a dick for the sake of being a dick. But overall, I give this episode a 5 out of 5. It was nice to see, Peter struggling with his inner demons, and he's gonna have to deal with the fact that Spider-Man's taking a lot of time out of his personal life being Peter Parker, so he's having to learn how to balance that better too. So hopefully when characters like Harry come back, he'll pay a little bit more attention to those characters and pay a little bit more attention to Aunt May and the women that are in his life, so that he can continue being good, a good Peter Parker while also being a very good, solid Spider-Man. So yeah, I give this episode 5 out of 5. That's probably going to wrap it up for me on my thoughts on this episode. Let me know in the comments what you think. And I just want to say, if you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. And while you're here, if you can, like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel a lot. It means so much to me. Thank you so much. We've hit 200 subscribers, and the channel could not do that without you guys. So thank you so much for supporting me. I will keep doing my best to stay motivated and keep making Spider-Man content. So anyway, that's going to be it for me. And remember, with great power comes great responsibility. I'm Dual Dire, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.